If I've learned anything from this world, it's the power of sharpened steel by your side. A talented warrior cut his own path in life, be it for women, Ryo, or fame. At least that's the idea. I considered myself a skilled swordsman, so why was I alone, destitute, and habitually disrespected? I cracked my neck in a smile at the thought. Maybe I haven't learned anything after all. Kid, if we run into any guards, I'll dispose of them. Save your magic tricks for tomorrow's stir-fry. While these city watchmen were better trained than most, I can't imagine that they've dealt with anything worse than drunken samurai well past their prime. They wouldn't have a chance against a clear-headed Ronin at his best. Masami brushed her bangs from her eyes to reveal a stern glare. Her cheeks puffed out as well, a childish but incredibly cute habit.
Dispose? I've more than half the mind to dispose of your services entirely. You're no more than a violent cutthroat.
The Shugenja placed her hands atop her hips and stopped following me. The kid's frustration gave way to an idea, one of her better ones.
It's obvious to me that we have matters to discuss. This establishment across the street with the posters on display. It should be deserted this time of night.
I followed Masami's eyes to a series of large illustrations hung over an odd wooden building. The illustrations showed ridiculous-looking men and women in white face paint and impossibly colorful kimonos. Me and my orange Howery should fit right in. The front entrance was unlocked and slid right open. Hyugan doors were impossible to secure from the outside. The best you could do was place a bar from the inside to prevent the frame from sliding altogether. Most folk from safer communities didn't even bother, which certainly made my assassinations easier. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but it sure wasn't this. Balconies overlooked a series of raised walkways, which mingled in and around seating areas covered in luxurious rugs and pillows. The walkways joined towards the end of the chamber, where some sort of miniature shrine stood in extravagance. It lacked any walls and any purpose, from what I could tell. My puzzlement did not go unnoticed.
Care to speculate, Kenji?
I knew Masami was grinning like a childish devil without even looking. Since our 2 weeks of traveling together, she's made it a habit to boast her trivial knowledge whenever at all possible. Sometimes I could get lucky on a hunch. Probably not this time, though.
It's a brothel. The girls strut along the aisle.
This was how I turned the tables on the know-it-all scholar. Masami couldn't handle this area of expertise well, as shown by the blush building on her cheeks. But aside from teasing the kid, my guess had some merit. Sauntering along these elevated walkways would give spectators a perfect view. Anger blended with embarrassment in her response.
Your vulgarities have no limit. This is a kabuki theater, stylistic dance drama in its purest form, genius choreography depicting historic battles and romance, of warring families and forbidden love. It is no house of ill repute.
Masami's passion bled through her words like a heart hemorrhage. It was good to see her get enthusiastic about something besides scrolls for once, but being a hopeless romantic, well, there was more than one way a heart could break. The best course of action was to hide out here for a moment while the guards prowled the nearby streets. It gave me and the kid a chance to talk, and not about clowns who danced with masks on. Masami Hashimoto, you and I have much to discuss. This was the first time I had ever addressed her so officially. Names hold a certain kind of power, but only if you use them sparingly. Like a spice, they can change the flavor of a sentence entirely. And this dish was tasting bitter, but this matter had to be addressed. I'm your bodyguard. You tried running out on me while I slept. Why? My eyes met hers and prepared for a stare down, but that wasn't necessary. Her eyes looked away towards the front entrance, as if willing the body to follow. Why was she so desperate to avoid this question? Masami's hands clenched into fists.
Worried that I would abscond on your payment? Of course! That's all you ever seem to care about!
She pulled out a pouch from inside her kimono and slammed it against the stage floor. The jingling of coins preceded a scatter of Rio, the shining glints of gold unmistakable even in this faint light.
There! Take your Ryo, you scoundrel!
The Shugenja turned away from me with shoulders that raised with rapid breaths. She sniffed the air, though not to catch a scent. Masami was holding back a cry, and it was entirely my fault. Don't ever throw money at me! I stared at the scattered Ryo in disgust from the urge inside of me, the instinct to go and pocket what Masami tossed away like it was trash. I'd get on my hands and knees while this child would look down upon me in both meanings of the phrase. There was no other gesture the Shugenja could have made to emphasize how different we truly were. The impulse subsided, so I continued. I'm not a slave for money. You have no right to judge me for what I've done, what I've had to become to survive. You can't even imagine the ways I've had to suffer. My voice started shaking, my calm facade breaking like shattered porcelain. I was furious, but not at the kid. No, I'd need a mirror to reveal who angered me the most. After a long silence, the young woman in the red kimono replied, though with her back still turned.
You're right! What does a wealthy juvenile know of hardship? I scarcely know your name, let alone your grief.
Masami spun on her heels to face me, with her anger more composed than before.
How can I permit you as my protector if you won't even tell me who you really are?
Who I really was. I was exactly what you think, a no-good vagrant swordsman for hire. Or maybe she wanted to know about my past, as a street urchin who stole from hard-working farmhands, who beat up on the smaller kids until they bruised all over just for a fistful of stale rice. Or maybe she wanted to know about the ungrateful student of a sympathetic samurai who betrayed his master for a bit of chump change, forsaking the man who was the closest thing to a father he would ever have. What a horrible human being. My life made for a piss-poor story no kabuki house wanted to dance to. Masami had the curious mind of any good scholar, but this was one tale she wouldn't want to hear. And aside from that... she'd never see her apricot Ronin the same way again.